Okay, so for this video, I am going to animate the digital portrait that I did with Illustrator last time. And I decided to try this with Adobe XD. Obviously, for animating pieces, I would normally go for After Effects, but I potentially want to make this into an interactive piece, like a simple interactive piece. So I'm going to try this in XD. So first I'm going to import the portrait. And the cool thing about XD is that it'll maintain all the vector properties within the file you bring in. So what I'm going to do is first delete all the elements that I don't need, and all I have left is the image itself. You can see to the left that all the layers are grouped into shapes, so individual shapes. So that's another cool thing about working between Illustrator and XD. If you bring in an Illustrator file, everything's organized, all the layers and everything's organized into groups in the same order. So I'm going to simply scale this and have it fit the frame, and yeah, I'll just leave the name as custom 1. The name really doesn't matter, and I'm going to option click and drag out the first frame, and so I have two of the same frames with all the same files. And then what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to prototype, and then I'm going to click on the name of the first frame to activate the entire frame, and I'm going to drag out the arrow into the second frame. And what this does is it links these two frames, and I'm going to do the same with the second frame back to the first. Now I've created a loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the first link, and then I'm going to set the trigger as time, and the delay is going to be 0. So I'll show you what's going to happen, but I'm not going to trigger the motion by clicking or tapping, but it's going to happen automatically with a 0-second delay. That means it's going to happen instantly. And for the action type, I'm going to be using auto animate. This is how you're going to get all the simple animations within XD. And then the destination obviously is the second frame, custom 2. And then for the easing, I'll be using easy in and out. This will give a little bit more smoothness and a little bit more bounce to the motion, which is what I'm trying to go for this piece. And the duration, I'll just give it 1 second. So we have that set. And then I'm going to do the same with the second link. So it's going to be time, 0 seconds, auto animate, easy in and out, and 1 second. So now that we have these two linked, I'm going to go back to the design tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the animating. I'm going to animate the X first. So what I want the X to do is I want the X to rotate in between. So I'm going to click the second X, and you can see over here there's a rotation value. So I'm going to give it 360 degrees. And because these two are linked in prototype, if you click on preview, now you have a rotating element. So if you go to prototype and switch the trigger to tap, what's going to happen is you click on the image and it'll rotate. So that's the difference between time and tap as a trigger. So I'm going to switch this back to time. And now that we've animated the X, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to design and animate the ring. All I'm going to do is hold shift and scale this down to about here. And what this is going to do is it's going to give the effect of the ring moving to and fro, like forwards and backwards. So now we've got that loop all set. I want the arrows to move as well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the arrows in frame 1 outside of the frame, so the arrows are gliding in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this arrow, move it out. I'm going to select these two arrows and move them out as well. But what I want to do is I want to change the speed of the arrows. So I want this one to come in slower than this one. So you can see that the speeds are different. But so we have a very simple animation at this point, but what I want the arrows to do, I like what the X and the ring is doing, but what I want the arrows to do is I want the arrow to move in the direction of the arrow. So I want this to zoom out. So now, because we only have 2 frames, the animation can only, or the motion can only loop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 3rd frame and I'm going to create a bigger loop. So it's going to go from 1 to 2 to 3 back to 1. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this and link it to 3, and I'm going to link 3 back to 1. So I'm going to have the arrows move out of the frame in this direction now. And again, I want to sort of play with the speed. So I just switched the order of the arrows. And from here, what I also want to do is so this is kind of a destination frame. So I want 1 to auto animate to 2. I want 2 to auto animate to 3, but I don't want 3 to auto animate to 1, and I'll show you why. So we have that going on, but because we're using the same elements, you can see that we don't want the arrows coming back into the screen. and looping back to frame 1 via animate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the or activate the link, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the action type to transition with no animation. So what it's going to do is it's simply going to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and then just jump back to 1. So let's see what that does. So now we got the arrow doing what we want, but I want to keep the looping motion and the animation of the X and the ring. So what we need to do is we need to go back to design, go to frame 3, click on the X and bring this back to 0. So this matches frame 1. And then same for the small ring. I'm going to, I can scale this back up, but I want it to exactly match the ring that we see in frame 1. So I'm going to simply delete the ring that's in frame 3, and then I'm going to copy and paste that ring from frame 1 to frame 3. So XD is going to automatically paste in place, meaning it's going to, whatever I copy from another frame, it's going to paste in the exact same position. But the only thing is we want that inside the same group as frame 1. So it's under graphics, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to bring that group under graphics underneath 29 into the same position. So now we have our desired animating going on. So that's a very simple way to animate elements in XD, and you could always switch the trigger to tap, so you can actually take a look at this on your phone, or you can preview and tap to activate the motion. But in this case, I wanted it to happen automatically, so I'm just going to leave it at that. And for one last thing, I'm going to animate the eyeball. So, you know, it seems like the character is looking away and then looking at us, and then back to looking away. And let's see if that works. Yeah, and that's the desired animating that I wanted. Maybe in the next video I'm going to do a second application of this piece, but as of now I think we've achieved or I've achieved what I wanted to, and I think this became a much more interesting piece. So always think about ways to apply your pieces, especially if it's a digital piece. There's a lot of different things you can do, and this can easily become, you know, a nice little you know, like looping animated piece for, let's say, like a musician or whatever. So it's yeah, and it's always fun to explore like different ideas and different ways to add some more interest to an animation. So I hope you like this video, and I hope it's helped. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading content regularly, and I'll see you guys in the next video.